Hey everybody, in today's video, I'm going to be discussing my experience and my thoughts on emulation. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. Okay, so to give you a rough definition of emulation. Emulation is basically telling your device that it was running a game or something on the same device or hardware it was designed for. So basically, your computer's lying. Now, there are many reasons and a whole plethora of whys and hows people don't get into emulation, and we'll answer that in a bit. But first, I want to talk about the pros. Okay, so there are many pros to emulation using emulators, such as you can play pretty much any game you want, and you don't need to track down the game with the console and all that crap. You can just emulate it on your computer. Another pro is that there's so much personalization, customization. You can really make it your own game. You can stretch the game to widescreen or make the graphics look better with endless possibilities. Emulation can also help you test out the games and see if you would actually buy the physical copy. You only need one controller, so you don't need 1,000 cords and all this junk and, oh, I lost my GameCube controller. No, just one controller. You can even download a save file online, so you can have everything unlocked, or you can act like you 100%ed Super Mario Sunshine when you actually didn't. Emulation is way more affordable than playing it the real way, minus the cost of the PC monitor and everything else. Also, capturing footage for videos, if you're a video creator, is way easier than the real way. If you want to capture any footage nowadays, you have to need a capture card, a powerful computer, and then you got to record it on OBS, and it's a big hassle rather than just recording it from an emulator straight to OBS. And most games that you can emulate, you can make look way better than the original because of the code that has been modified. Emulation takes away the hassle of going on eBay and getting harassed by the seller and probably getting a broken copy in the mail, or it not even arriving and you inevitably lose a ton of money. Now, there may be a ton of pros, but there are also a decent bit of cons. Now, some of the cons that come along with emulation, and the biggest one being the legalities. Now, because emulation isn't technically legal, at least the way most people emulate games, which is just by downloading the ROMs online, which is legal. But the only legal way to do it technically is basically you can buy the games and then rip the files from the physical version, put it on your computer. But nobody wants to do that. But you're going to be fine, let's be real. Nintendo's not going to come over, knock on your door, and arrest you because you download some 1980s NES game. Another con is that you don't have the original controller, and some of these games are actually really hard to play with your PS4 controller or whatever. Because you see, it's really hard to make a computer think that this is this. Sometimes when you try and enhance the graphics for a game, it doesn't end up looking that nice. I mean, take N64, SNES, Genesis, NES, any of those games. They were made for 4x3 on the CRT. You can't stretch it to 16:9, or it'll look like this. And sometimes even unplayable. This is a minor con, but not all systems work well. Sometimes even unplayable. I mean, how are you supposed to emulate the Wii U, 3DS, DS, and the Switch? Granted, it works, but it is very difficult to get it to work. Speaking of difficult, trying to get some of these emulators to work is one massive pain in the butt. It took me forever to finally figure it out, and legally, I can't show you where to download games or how to get these things to work, but if you want me to show you guys software tutorials, then I'd be happy to. Now let's get back to the cons. If you want to emulate 3DS games and above, pretty much, your system is going to have to be pretty powerful, and that's another thing. PCs aren't cheap. You're probably going to be looking between $1,000 to $2,000 for a good or a high-tier PC, and some people don't have that kind of cash, and that's alright. Alright, now, if you're thinking into getting into emulation, let me give you some tips from my experience. Alright, so if you want to play Wii games and some of them that don't utilize motion controls, you can probably just map that to a button. But for some games like Mario Galaxy where you need the nunchuck, you're gonna have to get a dolphin sensor from Amazon, but it's really easy to sync. I'd highly recommend it. Another tip when extracting games, use WinRAR. It's way easier and it's free. It's awesome. It's better than 7-zip. Don't at me. And extract it to the game folder that you're trying to play with. Now, speaking of folders, try and organize your games. You don't want to be looking around File Explorer for 3,000 hours trying to find your game. So try and group it by consoles or genre or some other random category. Now, a big reason why people don't get into emulation is because of the problem with computers and troubleshooting and all that PC stuff. And that's justified, but there are a ton of subreddits and wikis that can help you and show you what to do. There is this really cool wiki that I will link in the description that can help you out, and you can click on any console and it'll give you a link to an emulator that is corresponding to that console. Alright, well that's all the time we have today. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope I taught you something about emulation that you didn't know before. And if you are going to get into emulation, please don't tell anyone. I don't want to go to jail. Well, that's all the time we have today. I better get out of here before the cops hunt me down. Anyway, subscribe, like, all that stuff, and yeah, see you in the next one. Bye, guys.